people simply do not have a lean gains formula that works. I'm going to give you one simple formula to program all of your muscle growth training with.
And so in today's video, we're going to see, does Mike Israetel think that you can main gain, or does he think you have to bulk and cut? Coach Greg, in today's video, we're going to learn how to build muscle, lose fat at the same time. For the most part, this is what most people's goals actually are. Most people want more muscle and less fat. We're going to explain exactly how you can do that. Now, if you're already at single-digit body fat, you're, for example, Tristan Lee from a year ago, you don't need to listen or watch this video. But if you have a little bit of body fat that you'd want to lose, and you'd like to have a little bit more muscle, this is the video for you.
I want to talk to you about a problem. People simply do not have a lean gains formula that works.
People don't have a lean gains formula that works. I mean, nobody has ever done a video talking about this. There's never been a guy named Coach Greg has said to main gain. He's never said it once. He's never talked about it. He never explained exactly how you can get it done. But yet everyone out there has an opinion about main gaining that it doesn't work, that I've been exposed, that it's just made up, it's fantasy. But yet countless people, after they analyze it and understand it, are saying it actually works.
We'll cut back to 12, see how you feel, and then stay in the 12 to 15% range and kind of slowly over time gain. I don't like pushing people to gain when they're already pretty fat because, you know, physiologically it probably works. You probably add some muscle. That's not great for your health. And you can like develop like more skin cells and you get loose skin after that. Like if you bulk to 30%, I've done that before. I still have like some titties and shit that just don't go away under any circumstance.
The latest guy to agree with Coach Greg, it's Fouad Abiad. The guy was saying you got to bulk and cut for years. But recently he's come to the conclusion that no, it actually works. Another famous coach has explained to him that, yeah, you can do exactly what Coach Greg is saying.
I'm going to give you one simple formula to program all of your muscle growth training with if you like.
And so he could right here say main gain. He could end the video, say, watch Coach Greg, main gain, keep your body weight about the same, and over the course of the year, you're slowly going to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. If you're 170 pounds right now and you're, for example, 25% body fat, a year from now, you may still in fact be 170 pounds, but you're going to have perhaps 5% less body fat and 5% more muscle. Is that not what you want? 5% of 170 pounds would be about 8 pounds of muscle. And so if you lose 8 pounds of fat and replace that with 8 pounds of muscle, a year later, you're going to look a lot better, you're going to be a lot leaner, have more strength, energy, and so on. Why not just do that? Oh, it's too confusing. You need to bulk, you need to go in a calorie surplus to put on muscle. You can't possibly use the fat that's already in your body to build muscle now, can you? Just analyze it. You need 3 things to build muscle. You need water, you need protein, and you need energy. Do you not think there's energy in all that fat that's sitting on your abdomen? Do you not think that all those extra cheeseburgers you've been eating your entire life, that you can actually use those cheeseburgers to build muscle right now? And so you don't need to go on a bulk. You don't need to show up at Wendy's on leg day in order to build muscle. You can eat normally, maintain the weight you're at right now, slowly drop body fat, and at the same time build muscle, and everyone can do it. Unless you're at your natural genetic limit, you too can build muscle. You don't have to take PDs, you don't have to cycle on and off, you don't have to do anything. You eat, you check, for example, your median weight each week so that you don't gain too much. Because if you don't weigh yourself, you don't look yourself in the mirror, you might suddenly gain 10, 15, maybe even 20 pounds in the winter and you don't even realize it. A slow calorie surplus can creep up on you. And so oftentimes people say, I don't want to check my weight. Why not? If you have a phobia of weighing yourself, it probably means there's something going on. Perhaps you need to see a psychiatrist. Many people develop body dysmorphia. They think that the scale weight determines their self-worth. And so if you're one of these people, please find someone who cares and talk it out. But let's see what Mike Israetel says. Let's see if he has a better plan than just main gaining.
For 12 weeks, you gain half a pound on average per week.
All right. And so Mike's plan is for 12 weeks, you gain a half a pound per week. And so here's the criticism. How are you going to be able to exactly gain a half a pound per week for 12 weeks? 2 weeks is a pound, 4 weeks is 2 pounds, and it goes on. And so right away, you have to weigh yourself probably about every day. If you don't weigh yourself every day, what's going to happen? If you weigh yourself every Friday, for example, you're 170 pounds, and next week you're 173 pounds, you're on that slight bulk, you went on that tiny lean bulk, well, you're up 3 pounds. And so now what do? Do you now cut the next week? Well, the plan is you're bulking for 12 weeks, lean bulk that is. But how do you only gain a half a pound on that bulk? No one's going to do it. If you have 100 people and you tell them to gain a half a pound in a week, you're going to have one person gain a half a pound. Everyone else is going to gain 3/4 of a pound, 1/3 of a pound, 5/8 of a pound, and so on. And so to say this is simple, it works on everyone, gain a half a pound per week. It doesn't. You might even lose weight. Does it not make more sense to just say, try and weigh about the same all year? If you lose a half a pound, gain a half a pound, go up a pound, lose a pound, just the next week, make some small adjustments. If your goal is to stay at 170 a year from now, and you see your weight going up every week, well, then you're eating too much, eat less. If you see your weight going down each week, eat a little bit more. It's not confusing, it's simple. Everyone can do it, and so that's the beauty of main gaining. I'm going to argue it's easier than Mike Israetel's plan. But let's let you decide.
How much do you have to eat? Whatever keeps that half a pound roughly gaining. You gain 3/4 of a pound, eat a little less. If you gained 1/4 of a pound or not at all, eat a little more. So on and so forth. Average is all that matters.
And so know what he's saying? If you gain 3/4 of a pound, eat a little less. You gain 1/4 pound, eat a little more. Does it not sound like he's saying exactly what Coach Greg's saying? The only difference is he wants you to very specifically be gaining a half a pound each week. What's the point? What really is the difference? Why are we purposefully trying to gain body fat and or muscle weight for 12 weeks? And then what do you think is going to happen? You're going to have to go on a diet. You're going to have to go on a cut. Oh, but that's easy. I like going on a cut. Well, if you want to go on a bulk and a cut, go on a bulk and a cut. But it doesn't mean it's any better than doing my plan. And so why did he choose 12 weeks? You bulk up by gaining a half a pound a week for 12. Could he have not said 10? You do this for 10 weeks and then you go on a cut for 5. Why not 20? Go on a bulk for 20 weeks, then go on a cut for 10. Why not 2? Go on a 2-week bulk, then cut for 1. Why not bulk for 2 days and then cut for 1? Why not bulk for 2 meals and then on the 3rd meal, go on a deficit? Are you getting the point now? It's arbitrary. It's made up. It's just numbers. It essentially does the exact same thing as main gaining. Why didn't he say bulk for 12 weeks and gain 1/4 pound each week? Then at the end of 12 weeks, you'll be up 3 pounds and then you can cut for 3. Or why not bulk up and gain 1/8 of a pound per week for 16 weeks? That sounds easy. 1/8 of a pound, who can't gain that? And so in 16 weeks, you're up 2, diet for 2 weeks, and lo and behold, you're back to square one and you've main gained. Well, let's keep this going. 1/16 of a pound? Why not just go up 1 ounce a week? Are you starting to get the picture? It's very, very similar to main gaining. You can do whatever you want, but this is essentially the same thing as main gaining. If you gain 6 pounds in 12 weeks and then lose 6 pounds in 6 weeks, you now weigh the same thing. When you main gain, what happens at the end of 18 weeks? 12 plus 6, 18, 12 weeks of bulking, lean bulking, and 6 weeks of cutting. It's 18 weeks. What was the weight at the start versus the end? It's the same. And what is the weight at the start or the end of 18 weeks? If doing it with my methods, it's the same. And so what exactly is the difference? The difference is he's saying it's a bulk and cut, and I'm saying it's the same thing as main gaining. And so do you not see how we're thinking the same way? Do you really think his methods are going to work better than mine? Do you not think that it just matters that you do exactly what you want?
So that over 12 weeks, you gain roughly 6 pounds. After you finish that, you're going to be a little tired. So you take 1 week of active rest. No training. Don't go to the gym.
And so he says after the 12 weeks, you got to take a break from training. You're going to be tired. Maybe you're not. How do we know you're all tired? You're all going to be tired because you've been bulking for 12 weeks. You've gained 6 pounds. What if you got sick during those 12 weeks? How many of you get sick every year? Many of us. What happens if that happens while you're on a bulk? Then it screws up with your plan now, doesn't it? And so do you then still take that 1 week off from the gym, training half-assed and so on, that deload week? You got sick 4 weeks before that. Do you still need that deload week? Imagine this, you're main gaining and you get sick and you take a deload when you're sick. And then when you're not sick, you go and train hard again. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think so.
And then after that, 6 weeks of fat loss, 1 pound a week of loss on average each time.
And so remember, you had to do that 12-week gain 6 pounds theory. You had to go through that. And then after that, you have to take that day off. And after that, you have to then take that week of active rest where what if you're just feeling amazing? You want to train. What if you don't want to take a week off and go on a road trip at that time? What if the road trip happened on week 10? You're going to Mexico, that all-inclusive resort, and that's on week 10. Should you then just say, I'm on vacation, but I need to get to the gym every single day and follow my RIR training and so on? Or could you just not take the deload then? Why not just bulk up for 9 weeks? Anything wrong with 9? You've put on 4.5 pounds and then take the deload on week 10. You see how this is all arbitrary and to say this is the plan, this is set in stone, this is what you should do? You see how that's less effective overall than just main gaining? Main gaining accounts for everything. Whether you're sick, whether you had a road trip, whether you broke up with your girlfriend, you have a wedding and so on, you just main gain. No matter what life throws at you, you can just main gain.
So you're gaining 6 pounds over 12 weeks, and then you're losing 6 pounds over 6 weeks.
And so what happens if you don't want to now lose those 6 pounds over 6 weeks? You perhaps like the way you look. You don't want to lose 6 pounds. You have to go on a diet. What if after that week of deload, you now have to go to a wedding? Your friends are going out to eat. You're going to have a vacation. You're going to Mexico and so on, that all-inclusive resort. Oh, but now you're cutting. You owe it to yourself. You've gained those 6 pounds. Probably a lot of it is body fat, perhaps half of it. And now you have to lose that in 6 weeks. Remember, it took you 12 weeks to gain it, but now you're forced to lose it in 6. If you were main gain, you wouldn't have to go on this diet. You wouldn't have to cut for 6 weeks. You would just continue to main gain. But main gaining doesn't work. Why wouldn't it work? What's the difference?
And on the way down, you usually only lose, if you're training hard and eating well, you only lose fat. So you get to keep the muscle.
And notice how he says usually. When you cut a pound of body fat a week, that's 3,500 calories. You need to be in a daily deficit of 500 calories. It might not sound like much, but it could be for some people. Let's assume you're a woman or a small man. If you're eating 2,000 calories a day and you cut it down to 1,500, you might not enjoy that. You might lack the energy, you're not quite getting the same pumps in the gym, and just think about it. How could you? If going on a bulk results in more muscle growth, you're in a calorie surplus, and you're getting in better training, better pumps, and you're putting on more muscle, how is it possible that going in a deficit doesn't do the exact same thing? You're bulking, eating more food, you're feeling good in the gym, you're putting on more muscle, and then when you do the exact opposite, you're in a cut, you have less pump, you have less energy. How are you keeping all this muscle? Ever think of that? And so the reality is, main gaining at the same weight all the time, it's just as good as bulking and cutting. You might not get quite the crazy pumps of ending a cut and going in a surplus, but you're being consistent. Every day essentially is the same. You're able to get the same pump. You're able to build the same amount of muscle.
That's why it's called not a gains plan, but a lean gains plan. It's a recomp plan, but it's a recomp done right.
So is main gaining. Think of it. What are you doing in main gaining? He's got an 18-week plan, 12 weeks of lean bulking, 6 weeks of cutting. If you go in main gain, you've got 18 weeks of recomping. What's the difference? In his plan, you end up at the same weight. In my plan, you end up at the same weight. In both cases, you should be leaner with more muscle. What's the difference? But oh, Coach Greg, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Why? Because I only have a master's degree? Do you really need a PhD for this to make sense?
Let's talk about the downsides of this approach.
And so notice all the downsides to this approach. He says, let's now talk about the downsides. What are the downsides of main gaining? I can't think of any. There's none. Well, no, Coach Greg, you don't get to eat what you want. Do you get to eat whatever you want when gaining a half a pound a week? I don't think so. It doesn't sound like you can go to fast food restaurants, buffets, and so on every day. You gain a lot more than a half a pound. And so on the bulking plan, you get to eat what you want to an extent, maybe one meal a day. You don't think you can eat what you want in the same extent on a main gaining program? Think of it. If I want to eat a lot for lunch, I can eat a lot for lunch. Let's call it 1,500 calories. Perhaps that's double what I would normally eat at any given meal. I've eaten now a surplus of calories. The next meal, I eat less. I balance it out. If I'm eating 5 meals in a day, maybe I'll only eat 4. I eat double the food that I normally eat in meal 2, and so I'm going to skip meal 3 and go to meal 4. Anything wrong with that? No. Because at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out. And so, do you know how easy it is to do this? Oh, but what if you overate for an entire day? Let's go with that. Let's say you eat 2,500 calories a day, and on that day you ate 4,000. For whatever reason, you went out with your friends, you ate a bunch of burgers and fries and so on, and so you're up 1,500 calories. The next day you eat 500 less, the next day 500 less, the next day 500 less, and it's all balanced out. You had one major bulk day followed by 3 cut days. How is that bad? Oh, but that's such a big deficit, 500 a day. Mike's having you do that for 6 weeks straight. Remember that 12-week small bulk where you gained a half a pound a week? That was followed by a 6-week cut. And to lose a pound of fat per week, you need to be in a 500 calorie daily deficit per day. And so if you have one cheat day where you eat 1,500 extra calories, that's a lot. You follow it up with 3 days of cutting. The same cut that Mike's doing on his magical approach that can work for everyone. And so you now see how main gaining is the same thing. It's just as good, if not better, with none of the downfalls.
It's a one-size-fits-all approach. Anytime one size fits all, you can guess at the ends of the spectrum there will be downsides. If we have a basketball uniform that fits Kobe okay, it's not going to fit a 4-year-old okay.
And no matter who you are, as Mike talks about Kobe, if you're Michael Jordan, LeBron James, I don't care what athlete you are, you can main gain.
Let's say you have a drug-free older woman gaining 6 pounds over 12 weeks. She's going to gain more of a fraction of fat than a drug-using first-timer 27-year-old bodybuilder.
Exactly. And so you can see already it doesn't work for everyone. That drug-free older woman that doesn't want to gain 6 pounds in 12 weeks, it's not working for her. Would main gaining work for her? Let's ask her, hey, Grandma, what do you think about staying the same weight and building muscle at the same time while losing body fat?
Hey, that sounds pretty good. I could stay 125 pounds and just lose fat and build muscle. I like that.
What about gaining 6 pounds the next 12 weeks and have to diet?
I don't want to get 6 pounds of fat. I don't like it.
Main gain then. I don't know if my IQ is just so high and understand these things or that everyone else's IQ is just so low. I'm starting to think everyone else's IQ is so low. After all, I have called my subs morons for years. I'm starting to think I was on to something. Are you with me? Is it making sense? Can you see how main gaining works? Has less downfalls, fewer flaws.
27-year-old bodybuilder who can gain 6 pounds and actually lose a little bit of fat during that process, gaining 8 pounds of muscle and losing 2 pounds of fat at the same time.
And even that drug-gaining bodybuilder, even that guy, he can main gain. He's 25% body fat. He's 25 years of age. He's decided to go on a cycle for the first time. He starts at 170. He goes on a cycle. Do you not think he can keep his weight at 170 for perhaps those 12, 16, whatever weeks he's doing that for? He's 170, and at the end of the cycle, he's still 170. But instead of being at 25% body fat, let's give him 15% body fat. Oh my goodness! He went from 25% to 15, and he stayed the same weight. That means he lost 10% body fat and put on 10% muscle. How many people can do that? Think of it. 10% of 170, that's 17 pounds. It's a lot. And so why not just main gain? Rather than bulk you up to 190. Hey, I'm now 190, look at me. But you're at 25% body fat still, and now you got to cut for 6 weeks. Do you really think 6 weeks of cut is going to get you shredded? You started at 25%. Why not just main gain indefinitely until you reach your ideal percentage for you? And what percent do I say that is? About 15% for most people. And so if you're at 25%, main gain until you're 15. Main gain until you're 12, until you've had enough. And if you don't like it, you can always go into bulk. You can bulk up for a week. You can bulk up for a day. And if you don't like how much you gain, you can then go back to main gaining. You know what? I had my fun. I ate 5,000 calories in a day. I followed Sam Sulik's chocolate milk diet and Cheerios and so on. And I don't like it. And so you go back to main gaining and everybody wins. Are you getting it now?
Fat loss is easy. You can always do it later. Muscle gain, you got to really work for.
Exactly. Muscle gaining, you really got to work for it. But not if you're on steroids. Not if you're on steroids. And so do you know what's harder for many people to do? To maintain a lean physique. Anyone that takes steroids is going to have an easier time building muscle, but you know what they're not going to all have an easy time doing? Getting shredded. Getting to their ideal body fat percentage. For many people, it's hard. You don't believe me? How many bodybuilders, powerlifters, and so on struggle to have a six-pack? A lot. Just because you take steroids doesn't mean you're going to have the shredded physique that you want. You're probably going to have more muscle. Granted, a lot easier to build muscle, but burning fat, it's still hard. And so why not just main gain? Slowly lose that body fat, which is obviously a lot easier to do than gaining muscle. And so why not just keep your body weight the same and slowly lose the fat While adding on that muscle, because over time, eventually, you'll one day get your goal physique.
This also assumes that you want to gain muscle and lose fat over time. If you wanted to gain weight over time, you'd have to change the periodization.
And so clearly, if your goal is not to lose body fat and build muscle at the same time, don't main gain. Never said anyone to do that. If you're Tristan Lee or perhaps somebody at single-digit body fat and you just want to get bigger, you shouldn't main gain. Why would you do that? You're 6% body fat, you just finished competing. You're at 5 or 6% body fat, you just finished competing. You need to go in a bulk. I don't say to main gain for everyone. Main gaining is for most people. If you want to build muscle and lose fat at the same time, which is what most people want to do. If you're already shredded and you just want to put on size, go in a bulk. Now, if you're grossly overweight, if you're 35, 40% body fat, you should probably go on a cut. I don't even think main gaining is the answer. Of course it'll work, but it's going to take years. I'd rather you see you lose some body fat, a lot of body fat in fact, and slowly build muscle at the same time. And so for example, Brentley, do you think Brentley should have main gained at 500 plus pounds? Of course not. He goes on a cut. And so perhaps he loses 100 pounds and all the while gains 10 pounds of muscle at the same time. Lose 100 pounds of fat, build 10 pounds of muscle, net result, you're down 90 pounds. Does that not make sense? And then after that year's up, you decide what you want to do. You're going to go on a cut again this time and perhaps just lose 50 pounds of body fat, build 8 pounds of muscle, whatever. But once Brentley gets down to his goal weight, let's call it 225 pounds, at that weight, he should then main gain. Do you really think Brentley should then for 12 weeks gain 6 pounds and then for 6 weeks lose 6 pounds? Or do you think it'd be better for Brentley, once he gets to his goal weight, to just main gain? Really do the math. Should he start thinking, for the next 12 weeks, I'm going to eat more. I'm going to gain some weight. And then have to diet again? To me, that's a slippery slope. And so please be careful.
So those are the downsides. It's not the perfect approach.
And so he admits it himself. This isn't the ultimate plan. This isn't the ultimate tool. Anyone that says otherwise, well, they're telling you bullshit. Even when I tell people to main gain, remember, I'm not saying it's for everyone. I gave you the perfect concrete example. For Brentley, he should go on a cut. For Tristan Lee at single-digit body fat, he should go on a bulk. But for people who are in the middle, wanting to lose fat, build muscle at the same time, main gain is the answer. And remember, I'm not trying to sell you anything. This is not a program I need to sell you. But what I would suggest is if you're interested in speeding this up, consider taking Turk Builder and or GO2 Max. These are my top 2 selling supplements. And of course, I've got the cookbook and I've got the Circle Diet book. And so there are things that can help make this easier, but you don't need these. They just make your life easier. And if you don't have any money, I do have the free diet and training program. So if you don't know how to go about doing this, there's a free program for you. It's close to 50 pages. And it's not just one program. There's diets at multiple calorie ranges, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, and so on. And so no matter who you are, I have a free plan for you. But Coach Greg only cares about money. Free program for you. Giving away close to 100,000 copies. But Greg only cares about the money. Well, $50 times 100,000 is $5 million. It's free. But if you want to support me, you want to buy the best supplements out there, for example, the GO2 Max, the Turk Builder, of course, the Seco protein bars, pre-workout, creatine, and so on, please click the link in the description, code Greg, 15% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Do I not make sense? You can hate me all you like. Yeah, you sound like the parrot from Aladdin, but do I not make sense? Watch one of these 2 bloops. Of course, the coaching plans by me and my team, the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book, the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. Get it all on the website, and until next time, I am out.